Bitrix24 webinar, Total Telephony. Thank you for joining today. Okay, so who are we? We'll just introduce ourselves first. So I'm Sam Connor, part of the sales team here at Interface, and we're based in the UK, in the US and Hong Kong, and we offer a full range of services to help you with Bitrix24, starting off with pre-sale support, so we can help manage your requirements, see if Bitrix24 would be a good fit for your business, and it can then help to implement the software so we can set it up based on your specific requirements. And if you're interested in the self-hosted edition, we offer our own hosting services, and we provide you with ongoing dedicated support and training to really help you get the most out of Bitrix24. Okay, so if you're new to Bitrix24 and you've come to the webinar today to get more information about the system, then Bitrix is a collaboration suite of well in excess now of 35 different tools that you can use to manage your business. There are over 10 million organizations now around the world that use Bitrix to help manage their businesses, and the system is available in two different editions. See, we've got the Bitrix24 Cloud and we've got the Bitrix24 self-hosted, and also called the on-premise edition, which has more advanced tools. Prices start from around $49 per month for the basic level cloud edition, and the self-hosted system starting with the Business 50 is available for $2,990 as a lifetime license. Okay, so today's Bitrix24 webinar is Total Telephony. So we're going to be webinar in the coming weeks where we'll go into a lot more detail about the CRM. What you can do inside here is you can see, for example, we have a call that has been recorded inside the system. And when you record those calls, you can see all of the history. So we can see the date of the call, the number, and who was responsible from our team for actually taking that call in the system. And you can then play those calls back.
We can forward so using.
So that's really useful. So if you've had a conversation with a customer and you want to maybe just recap what the conversation was, or maybe some of the key questions that they asked, you can then go back into the call here and recap what that conversation was. So all of those calls are recorded here in the activity stream, and you can filter through here. So you might want to look at maybe those of certain dates in here, so also maybe based on the type of communication. So you can route down into any of those emails and calls directly inside the system here. And in the contact page, you can click to call directly in the system. So you can call directly through the contact page here in the CRM system. And what you may also want to do, maybe not just have an individual call there, you could also maybe set up a call list. So that could be key for maybe if you're running a call center, you might have lots of leads that you need to call in the system. So what you can also do is set up call lists, which is a way of bringing together a group of leads and maybe assigning those to a responsible agent who can then start to go through and call all of those in an efficient manner. So if we just go into the lead database here, what you can do is you might select specific leads in here, and what you can then do is you can create a new call list. So here we have the option to create call list, and if we just apply this, we can then assign this to someone in the system. So we can choose when this list needs to be called. So I can choose the availability here, and then we can add a title for this that we assign to a responsible person. Okay, so we can create that, and we can then save that, and that will then go to the responsible person. So I can go into our activities, and we have that lead call list now, so that's been assigned to me, and I can now start calling in the system. I can see those leads in the system here, and if I start calling, it will now start going through that group of leads that we have been assigned. So you may have very set requirements. So in one lead list, they may be based on geographical location, so you assign that to a specific person, and so on. So you can really segment those types of call lists inside the system, and we can then start calling through. Okay, so that's how we could also create call lists inside our CRM system. One other feature to mention as well inside leads and deals is we can create stages that we progress our leads through. And one feature you may want to set up is, for example, a robocall. So what we could do at a certain stage in your sales process, you could either record a message or you can type out some text. Okay, so if we typed out that message there, we can choose the language and the voice and style. You can choose the speed, and you can choose the volume of that message. So once that has been saved in here, what this is going to do, for example, if we save this in the new lead stage, and let's say we want to run this in 1 day's time, once the lead has been in that new lead stage for 1 day, we're automatically then going to send out this telephone message to that lead. And when they answer that telephone call, this message would then be relayed to them. Or you could say have an audio file, so an audio message would be relayed to them. And that can really start to help you progress your sales opportunities through different stages. You're trying to interact with them. So setting up a robocall could be a really nice method to actually try and progress your sales opportunities. So hopefully you're seeing here the telephony integration. It's not just about managing those inbound calls. It can also be used to help proactively engage and try and grow your sales within the CRM system as well. Okay, so that's a look there at Bitrix24 Telephony. Let's just see if we have any further questions. Okay, so we just had a question here. Is there a way to block incoming numbers and not just mute the notification? So for that, if you can just contact sales@intraface.com. So our details are on the page right now. We can then may just have some more questions to go through with you just to check how you currently have this set up, and we can then see if we can help you to manage that. So yes, we can have a look at that for you if you can just contact sales@intraface.com, and we'll investigate that in some more detail with you. Okay, another question, where are our calls recorded if we don't have access to the CRM? Okay, so that's a good question. So as we've seen, you can record those calls directly inside the CRM system, but you also have access to those calls inside your telephony module as well. So in the top here, we have a call details tab. And within this call details section, this is where you can see the entire log of all of your calls that have been made, either inbound calls to you or outbound calls. So we can see all of that information inside here. And you've got a filtering section at the top. So you can filter, maybe you want to see all of those where the call has been recorded, for example. So you can drill down into this data. And what you can then do is you can then download that information, you can play it back, and you can export any of this data out into Excel. So maybe you want to look at all of the calls of a certain responsible person, for example. So what you could then do is you could drill down into all of that activity in the system and export that data. So that's how you can see it. If you're not within the CRM system, you can go into this call details tab in your telephony module. And that just goes, if we just go actually back into the access permissions area, we mentioned how you can set up different roles. So here you can see how we can create different roles inside the system. And then based on that role, we can then create access permissions. So you can see inside here, for example, if we go into the administrator, we can then see, for example, those call recordings. The administrator has full access, or we may say based on a certain type of role, we may deny access to those call recordings. So based on that role, it can then differentiate if you're able to access this level of information in the telephony module. Okay, yeah, please do add any other questions as we go through the webinar. Before the end of today's session, we will go through any further questions. Okay, so what we've done so far is we have investigated how we can connect Bitrix24 Telephony. So we've seen how we can rent a number through Bitrix24. But there is another option. So you may have your own telephone numbers that you want to keep. So another option that we can do is integrate. And that can be an integration through your cloud or Office PBX. Or we can also integrate via the apps in the marketplace on the Bitrix24 system. So there's a few different options that we have available for this. So let's just take a look at those options. Okay, so back in our Bitrix24 system, we can now have a look at some of the different options to integrate. And I guess it's just important to understand why you may want to do this. So it may look the best option is to rent a number because it's very simple and easy to set up. But it could be that maybe you've got a small sales team and maybe they have an existing phone system and they want to be able to continue using that with their own numbers. So that could be a reason why you integrate, because you want to keep those existing numbers that your client base already knows of. Or it could be, for example, that you've set up a really good call package with your current phone provider and you want to continue that billing arrangement. So that would be another reason that you may want to integrate. So there's a few different reasons why you may want to do this. Now, the first way we're going to look at here is going into the marketplace. So Bitrix24 has VoIP integrations with, as you can see here, a selection of different phone providers. Now, with these applications here, it is just a word of warning just to check, first of all, that you do have the correct plan with that particular telephony provider. So for example, here we have the Ring Central telephony app in the system. So you can install this app for free into Bitrix, and then it says here you can receive inbound and make outbound calls directly from Bitrix24. So that's great if you've got a plan with Ring Central, but you just need to make sure that you have the correct type of plan. So you can see here, for example, with Ring Central, you need to have a premium or enterprise Ring Central plan. So just as a word of warning, if you do, then that's fine and fantastic. So you should be able to install this application and then you can receive calls and make outbound calls directly in your Bitrix24 system. But please do just check to make sure you are on the correct type of plan with that phone provider. So in the marketplace here, you just need to go to VoIP integration and you can then see all of the VoIP applications that are able to integrate. Okay, so that's one way of integrating into the system. Another way is using the SIP connector. So there are two different options here. So based on what you have, so to connect to your private branch exchange with all of your numbers, we can either connect to your Office PBX, or if you have a cloud PBX, we can use the SIP connector to connect to that. So what you would first of all do is you would select the appropriate PBX that you have. And then once you've done that, you want to go into the Connect Cloud PBX button here in the top right hand corner. And once you've done that, it will open up a form where you need to add your credentials into this form and save that information to connect to your cloud PBX. Now once you've entered that information, obviously there will be slightly different types of credentials based on if you've got the Office or cloud PBX. But once you have entered that information, then what you have is the ability to make 60 minutes of free outgoing calls to make sure that you can test the connection is working correctly So you can test to 60 minutes making outbound calls to make sure this is working correctly for you. And once you have done that, you then need to purchase the SIP connector. So buying the SIP connector is going to cost $49 per month, and that will allow you to integrate as many phone numbers into the system as you require. And once you have added those connections, your numbers will display in here, and you'll be able to go into here and make any configurations, just like we did with our rented number on Bitrix earlier on, so we can then have those calls routed in the system, for example, and saved inside the CRM. Okay, so that's another option. Now, really as a third and really the last option that you could use is to actually use the API. So with the Bitrix24, the self-hosted system, or the on-premise system that we call, you have access to the API. So if an integration isn't achievable